Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Diagnostics podcast, where we discuss everything medical laboratory science from around the world. Today, we're talking with a medical laboratory scientist who is in Benin City, Nigeria. He's going to tell us how, as a whole, the response has been happening in Benin City, and we'll also have a little insight into what labs over there are. So, without much further ado, let's talk MedLab. As I was saying earlier today, we're with a medical laboratory scientist from Benin City in Nigeria. His name is Uzodi Ekene. Nathan, how are you today, Nathan?
I'm very well, sir. And
How,
you?
I'm very fine too. How's the weather? How's the weather over there in Benin?
Well, it's a little cozy today. We have it's cloudy a little bit, not
Yeah,
too sunny, but sunny, say around 3 o'clock or thereabout.
yeah, it's Sunday. Are there some Sundays where you're at the lab?
Yeah.
So how is testing over there? Well, from what you told me, your lab does different sorts of tests, right?
Yes.
Now, it doesn't just do COVID-19. So what else does it do generally? Is it a reference lab?
I think so because um, it's a specialist hospital. They do various testing, so it's divided into departments, and you have various departments, both the medical laboratory services and other medical services. So yeah,
And what department are you in?
I'm under the medical microbiology, which is a sub-department of the um, medical laboratory services.
And you
So
do, yes, so,
molecular diagnostics is also part of medical microbiology. So yes,
yeah, so that's why you're involved in the COVID testing.
yeah.
Now, how does that work? Or actually, how did you get into into the lab?
Okay, after my training program here, because as he said, the licensure program for foreign trained graduates. After that, in fact, the moment we finished the program, the COVID-19 pandemic came into Nigeria, so we were not able to travel back to our various locations because I am permanently resident in Lagos State, but I couldn't travel back. So we just had to make do with what we had. And then initially, it was all everybody was at sixes, at sevens. People didn't really understand how
Yeah.
the virus or the whole thing worked, and people were scared. I too was scared because I
Mhm.
didn't really have proper knowledge, but I did a little um, research on it, and then I had a little course I did online with the
Okay.
World Health Organization to try to understand the whole thing. So after that, I got an opportunity to get trained on molecular diagnostics, and I took that, and then that was how I managed to volunteer for the training,
For the training.
for the testing rather, not training.
Okay, but you received some training, right?
Yes, I
Before you
did.
actually started doing the testing.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, it was more like a crash course, and it was expository because basically all through our stay in school, we were just hearing about real-time PCR, real-time PCR. We never got in-depth knowledge of how it functioned and how it worked. But that training exposed me to the modus operandi and the principles behind real-time PCR, and then the subsequently the testing procedures got me used to the way things are done in the lab,
Mm-hmm.
particularly for very virulent samples like COVID-19 samples.
Variant samples.
Virulent, like
Ah,
highly,
virulence.
yeah.
But yeah, I made a mistake. I didn't hear that correctly. But do you test variants?
Well, I don't, I we never got any variants, any mutated samples,
Mm-hmm.
and all. Because I don't think it came to Nigeria, and if it did, I don't think it came to Benin. And we had samples. So yeah,
True. But then you need to test in order to know that too. That's one of the
yeah,
problems with this virus. So you got there, you said about 2 years ago.
yeah. I got to Benin 2 years ago. I got to Benin in 2019, and
Mm-hmm.
then we finished our program in 2020, and then the pandemic set in. So I've been here for 2 years.
Yeah.
Although I volunteered towards the tail end of the pandemic. It's
Mm-hmm.
not ended yet, but when the whole thing was all calmer, that was when I got into the testing world. Let's
Yeah.
call it testing world.
And the volunteering, you did that to gain experience.
Yes, basically to gain experience.
So what do you say you have learned in all this time?
Well, first of all, I've learned how to properly use a proper personal protective equipment. That's the whole equipment itself, and the do's and don'ts, what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I've learned, like I said earlier, on the principles and modus operandi of the real time PCR. And I've also learned a lot. It had to bring me back to my virology. I had to go and read more on how viruses work and all that.
Function.
So it's been a wonderful learning experience.
And your personal protective equipment, you talked about that uh, a bit
Yeah.
earlier. What's it like? What do you usually wear in the lab?
Okay. So you have the coat. That's a disposable coat. Then you have gloves, and these gloves are regular laboratory gloves. They are way thicker than that. Then net, and then the shoe covering. So those are basically,
So it's essentially an overall gown, those white ones that you
yes,
zip up,
yes. You zip up through the middle,
and then
and
it goes
then
over your head.
yes,
Okay, I see. And then any goggles, face masks, anything of that
we just
nature.
have the face mask and then the face shield.
Yeah.
We put on the face shield and then the hair cover. Although the hair cover, you wear it inside of the um the gown.
But who does the sample collection? Are you part of the team or is it a separate
No,
team?
no, it's a separate team that does the sample collection at the isolation ward, and it's transported down to the lab. Although during my training, I got a hint of the sample collection. I was even one of the specimen used
For
for,
initial
for
testing.
testing. Yes. So I
And what?
actually got tested during
Mhm.
the pandemic.
And what was it? Negative.
It was negative. Yes, it was negative.
All right. Now, walk me through the process. When you get the sample and it gets to the lab, like, how do you work on it? What happens to the sample?
Okay, firstly, it's taken to the inactivation room, and that's where we do all the sorting out based on their serial numbers. And then after that, we now start the inactivation process,
Okay.
and it's done in a protective cabinet. So you're protected from anything happening inside. I think it's a standard two. Yes, it's a standard two protective chamber. So you
Okay.
walk inside and then it prevents anything from coming out and all that. So then after that, you send to the mix and master.
So it's a BSL2.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then you said after that.
After that, you send to the next room, which is the mix. What they call it? The mix and master room. Yeah,
Are
that's
you
where you have all the washing of the separation of the RNAs and
mm-hmm.
purification of everything. That's after it's been inactivated
And what have the
before you
results
now send down to the.
and what have the results been like since you've been over there? Actually, before we even get to results, when it comes to testing, do you get how many samples on average would you estimate that you get weekly?
Weekly, okay, because I do my voluntary stuff here on Sundays only because that's when I have enough time after everything, after the week's activity. So I think initially when I started in January, we were having because of the way they number it, on
Mm-hmm.
Sundays when I come around I get to see about 12,000, 10,000.
Okay.
It all just depends. But an average of 10 to 12,000, and this was like towards the tail end of the whole thing. That was I started in January.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm imagining what it would have been when during the heat of the pandemic,
Yeah.
interacting with my senior colleagues at the lab. They said it was pretty much hectic. That they had to even run
Definitely.
shift, day
Yeah.
and night shift. So
Mm-hmm. Because you said 12,000. That's about. Uh, we had someone here last week. Well, our Breeze said they get
yeah,
about 14,000 samples here a week in Cotonou. So it's somewhere, sounds about the same. At least it's
yeah.
close enough. But you said
Well,
it's,
the good thing is there are still other centers
yeah,
like spread around Nigeria. I don't know if that's applicable in Benin Republic, but in Nigeria there are a lot of centers.
hmm, that's what I was thinking too, because in Benin, there aren't that many centers.
Yeah,
I believe almost everything gets sent back here to Cotonou, and that's about it. But you were saying earlier that it's volunteering. You do it only on one day, it's only on Sundays then.
yeah, I do it only on Sundays. That was my own agreement with them.
All right. And how about what do you do during the rest of the week?
I work in my private facility.
Okay, so it's a different laboratory.
Yes, it's a different laboratory.
Okay, I see. So, set your own.
No, no, no. I work for somebody.
That would have been interesting also. Is it?
Well, the larger goal is to open something, but in Nigeria, your license you need to practice with your license for at least 5 years before you go into
Okay, before
um
you can open any other laboratory.
yes.
Okay. And so, given what you've been saying in your lab till now, um, how did people, you said you've been talking to your elders who have been around since the beginning. What
Yeah.
did they tell you about how things were about the beginning? How things were at the beginning, apart from the fact that they had a lot more samples.
Well, at the beginning they were all scared. A senior colleague told me that they actually put them on life insurance
Ah,
just in case anything just
they're,
in case anything happened.
they're probably saying finally.
But in the end,
Uh,
when they got acclimatized to the way the whole thing works, they were able to get used to it.
yeah,
And then they said it was hectic. I could literally see it on one of one of them. He's actually slim, and then when I met him again, he was way slimmer than he used to be. So yeah, it was hectic.
Yeah, in the beginning, everybody was scared. I mean, even at the WHO, people were scared. So it's only normal that's around the world, and especially that nobody really knew exactly what to do or how to react.
What? Yeah.
So we all had to do essentially what we could with what we had. And when you speak to those in charge at the lab, do they, how do I put that? When you speak to them, does it seem to you that they think this is getting to an end?
Well, basically, with the since the advent of the vaccine, I think the sample load has really been slashed.
Okay.
It has reduced drastically.
Does that mean a lot of people over there are getting vaccinated?
Yes, a lot of people are getting vaccinated. A lot of
Since
people.
since when?
Since that was in March. In March when the vaccine started to roll in,
Hmm.
people have been vaccinated, and then that has affected the number of samples that have been coming in. So yeah, I think people are, in fact, from the onset, Nigerians are always very stubborn. So they didn't really take the whole pandemic thing seriously, coupled with the fact that um, there were stories flying here and there of corruption, people, the government wanting to use the whole pandemic to embezzle money and all that. So people really didn't take it seriously. They were even angry that the government stopped them from going about their various businesses and all.
Yeah, because they probably
But
needed to be working.
yeah, but basically, from the whole situation now, I think interacting with my senior colleagues, it's been the hint is that the whole scenario or the whole situation is beginning to lower
Die
down and
down.
everything is getting back to normal.
Yeah, because I remember some of those stories. Some Nigerian people were talking to me about cases. I don't remember if it was in Lagos or Abuja where there was a hospital where there were almost no cases until the government started talking about giving money, and then all of a sudden the
Okay,
number of cases skyrocketed.
I
So,
think that's Abuja.
so people weren't really had the confidence essentially dropped because of cases of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, luckily things are getting better, it seems. Except in some countries, I was reading today that what country was that? I think in India there was a new surge.
New surge, yeah, in India.
Hmm. Hopefully, the vaccine is going to help with that. And how have been people reacting to the vaccine itself? When you look
Well,
around, what?
I'm yet to take the vaccine, but a few of my friends that have taken it, those that are actual frontline workers that get in contact with these samples every day, they said, well, the vaccine is not bad. Just some people react differently to the vaccine. So yeah, I plan to take very soon.
But the general population, what do they think about it? When you talk to people, like not necessarily people in the medical field, but just people all around, what is their response to the vaccine?
Well, first of all, they never believed that the virus didn't exist. So asking them to take a vaccine for what they believe do not exist is is
It's
going to be
hard.
difficult. But then I think there's going to be a way the government might have to do it to make everybody take, because people do not still believe that coronavirus came to Nigeria.
Mhm.
And then there's been a lot of conspiracy theories about the zombies, apocalypse, and
Really?
um,
I
the
I had not heard about
yes.
those.
Well, there's been the whole zombie apocalypse thing going around, saying that people that have taken the vaccine might eventually turn into zombies. And well, that's just stories.
Yeah, true. I think eventually we may try to get in like a vaccine expert to talk a bit about that. That would be interesting, especially maybe
Yeah.
someone from Nigeria. Because personally, you're talking about the government stepping in, but I don't really, I wonder if that is necessary as far as vaccination is concerned. Because it's not like
You're wondering if what?
if that is really necessary for the government to step in, because as far as this particular disease is concerned, it's not like we had as much, we had that many cases though
Okay.
in Africa. Actually, I don't know how it was specifically in Nigeria though. Were there lots of deaths? What were the numbers like?
I stopped checking because it was actually disheartening when you're just seeing so and so amount of people died and all. But I think the deaths were more than 10,000.
And the infected people.
I really can't give a figure to that, but there were a lot of, according to the CDC documentation, there were a lot of infected people.
Oh, in Nigeria, you also have a CDC.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I see. So, lab experts, thanks a lot for being here with us today. We hope you've been able to learn something. We hope you've been able to have to get a general idea of how this pandemic has been tackled in Benin as far as laboratory testing is concerned. If you'd like to see more videos on COVID-19, on the right over there, you're going to see a link to another video that you can watch on that and see you in the next video.